Bored at home? Head over to Chumba Casino and join some serious social casino fun. With hundreds of games at your fingertips, no purchase necessary. You can play anytime, anywhere. There's a special welcome bonus waiting for you when you sign up. Play for fun, play for free, and you can even redeem some great prizes. Visit ChumbaCasino.com and get ready to reel in the fun. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, S-H-O-W, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Hello, America. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be happy to have you. As we suddenly see, you're going to hear noise in the background as my computer system has just completely decided that it wants to reboot itself. We will make it happen, and I will multitask. I wish to have a discussion with all of you, particularly you parents. Are you raising demented kids? I don't know what's going on right now out there, but something is clearly going on. Have y'all seen the polling that like 40% of Americans under the age of 29 think it is perfectly acceptable to murder a healthcare CEO? It's kind of wild, actually. 40% of Americans think that there is nothing wrong with murdering the CEO of a healthcare company. I should say 40% of Americans. 40% of young Americans think it's okay. Parents, some of you can't help the situation you're in. And I know you can't help the situation you're in, and I cast no aspersions. I get it. But if you can remove your children from a government school and place them somewhere with people who respect your values, my suspicion is you're going to be better off. That's my suspicion. I think that you would be far better off having your kids taught by people who share your values than putting them in some sort of government school where they're going to get indoctrinated by people who don't share your values. You know, there's nothing wrong with raising your kids according to your values. This is an unwarranted stigma. Vox.com is a left-wing website. And a guy named Zach Beecham, who one time wrote that there was a mysterious bridge connecting Gaza and the West Bank. There's not, by the way. He's just an idiot. This guy wrote an explainer today on why conservatives are championing Daniel Penny, but not Luigi Mangione. What's the difference between the two? And he really obfuscates the difference. He tries to bring in conservative social thought and Russell Kirk and just really spends a whole lot of words not really explaining anything, but essentially justifying to progressives that somehow they're the superior being. And this is a lot of what goes on with left-wing commentary these days, is a justification for people on the left. I want to play you some audio.
It doesn't make you as much money.
Stop.
And it doesn't.
Let me set this up for you. This is a conversation on MSNBC about the future of the party. And you got to listen to part of this.
It doesn't make you as much money if you're a consultant.
And it doesn't. And listen, I've been a consultant. I was a consultant on the Harris campaign.
Yeah.
But you know what? I care about my community first and foremost and the strategies that will reach them. And those strategies are scrappy. They're new. They're different than the old guard. But listen, this isn't the 1990s. We can't continue to run those campaigns. And also, Joe Biden won because of some of that scrappiness, right? In a pandemic, and we had to defeat Donald Trump. And so, it's also disappointing that the DNC, like the people that are running to lead the DNC, are all white men.
And the thing is, I think about what the voter who was ride or die for Kamala Harris looked like. It looked like the people at this table.
Like us.
It looked like AOC. Latinas voted with her. It was Latino men. But so the reality is you're not bringing to the table the people who showed you how to win because they voted for her. They were willing to ride with her. You're chasing Republican voters who, no matter what Trump does, are going to vote for Trump.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what he does.
Listen, the party should be led, to your point, by young women of color. Right, because young women of color are the reasons that Democrats do actually have some of these wins. And we know how to communicate in ways that reach that more moderate voter, but also that progressive voter because we...
Really? Kamala Harris. Not exactly a great communicator. And here's the problem with these sorts of psychoanalysis by progressives. When you listen to progressives, one of the things, there's a difference between... And I got to be real careful here because not everyone who's on the right is a conservative. Conservatism comes with a level of humility because we don't have all the answers. We don't have all the answers. Are you a superlapsarian or an infralapsarian? I'm a superlapsarian. I bet you have no idea what that means unless you've been to seminary. Infralapsarian and superlapsarian. Did God set about the whole plan of redemption before or after Adam and Eve encountered the fruit in the garden? Did he put the whole plan in place before creation, before the first day of creation? Or did he do it after the fall? He did it before everything. Before he created everything, he knew exactly what was going to happen, how it was going to play out, designed it that way, and I have no idea why. But whether you're an infralapsarian or superlapsarian, there's a difference between the two, but also there's a humility that comes with you're never really sure, and you don't really know the answer. Why on God's good earth did he set this whole thing up? I have no idea. So there's a level of humility there, and that level of humility comes not just from faith, but also if you're a conservative, here's the thing. This goes to the Dunning-Kruger effect. We are all conservative about that which we know best. Every single person, however progressive you are, is conservative about that which you know best. And part of conservatism comes with a level of humility, and part of being an expert comes with a level of doubt. The people most convinced of something tend to be the people with the least bit of knowledge about that thing. The people who are most convinced, for example, and I'm going to step on some of your toes right here, the people most convinced the 2020 election was stolen are the people least expert in election law. The people most convinced the drones in New Jersey are UFOs are the people least knowledgeable about drones. The people most convinced that fluoride in American public drinking water causes brain damage are the people least knowledgeable about fluoride in drinking water. The people who are the most knowledgeable are willing to be challenged and willing to doubt and willing to explain and willing to engage. And progressives have no sense of humility. So they tend to be the dumbest people in the room who think they're the smartest. Progressives tend to think they need not know history because history is always new for them. One of the things Jonah Goldberg wrote in his great book, Liberal Fascism, is that progressives never need a sense of history because they always think they're on the right side of history, and they have no need to learn from the past. They view the past as old, outmoded, racist, whatever. I personally think there's a lot to learn from the past. I try to pay attention to the past. I try to exercise some level of humility. And that gets into our education system. Take new math. So my producer sending his kids to a classical Christian school that has embraced Singapore math. Singapore math, just so you understand, is Common Core. They've just changed the name. This is one of the things Common Core advocates do. And a lot of people and a lot of trend lines have decided, hey, we should rethink math. Math is no longer math. Math can no longer be the tried and the true method you and I used. It's got to be something new. It's got to be something shiny. They got to use blocks and models and draw it out and rethink it. They've changed math. And what you find in American educational systems is every 20 or 30 years, you have some new trend line that comes around and just screws everything up. Remember, for a long time, kids were taught to read and write by phonics, and it worked. And then they're like, oh, no, now we need the whole word method, and literacy declined. And guess what? They're moving back to phonics now. Eventually, they'll scrap the Singapore method, and they'll go back to real math. In education, they lack humility, and they always want the new and shiny. And part of that new and shiny is outmoded values in this country. Progressives don't like traditional values. And they've convinced themselves, well, those aren't traditional values. They are white man's values. And suddenly what we're generating are a bunch of monsters, ill-behaved monsters with no ethical core. So at Vox, the progressives are trying to explain to progressives how morally superior they are by why conservatives are distinguishing between Daniel Penny and Luigi Mangione. And by the way, it's progressives who see the opposite. Here's how I see Daniel Penny versus Luigi Mangione. Daniel Penny stopped a man from attacking other people, held him down, and the guy was still alive when he left Daniel Penny's care. And even if he wasn't alive when he left Daniel Penny's care, he was a threat to other people, and Daniel Penny was keeping people safe and then found not guilty by a jury of his peers. Luigi Mangione was not hurt by Brian Thompson. Brian Thompson was not a threat to him or his family, but he decided to become judge, jury, and executioner all in one. There is a bright and stark difference between the two. And yet we have a bunch of progressive kids in this country who can't distinguish between them, or to the extent they do, they think the man protecting people was the bad guy, and the guy taking justice into his own hands is the good guy. We're breeding an army of murderers in this country, in our public school system, in our elite institutions. This kid was an Ivy League grad who decided he could be judge, jury, and executioner in defiance of the whole of the American system, and the left is very happy with him and very upset that a jury of his peers let Daniel Penny off for daring to protect people on a subway system. And they can't understand conservatives and think, oh, we must be racist. The one guy was white and his victim was black, and the other were two white dudes, and that's why you're upset the white dude died and the black dude died. No, that's not it at all. But God forbid you have to understand morality. God forbid you have to understand law and order. And God forbid you have to understand real justice. People on the left are so arrogant and also so dumb. And they have taken over our cultural institutions and our academic institutions, and they wish to make your children dumber and more amoral or immoral. There are great public schools in this country. Don't get me wrong. There actually are really good public schools in this country. I have a number of relatives who are public school teachers, and they do a very good job. They are grounded in their faith, and they avoid all the woke nonsense. But even they can't deny that a bunch of woke progressives have invaded the academy, the elementary, secondary, and collegiate level, to indoctrinate kids, not to teach them, educate them, and put them out into the world to become those with jobs and job creators, but to indoctrinate them into the values of the left. And the result is that 40% of kids, or not kids, adults, 18 to 29, 40% of them thought it was perfectly fine for Luigi Mangione to gun down a healthcare CEO. It's not okay. And I suspect that most of that 40% are either a bunch of privileged, wealthy kids, or a bunch of kids indoctrinated by a bunch of progressives in government-run schools. Find yourselves a good classical Christian school or homeschool your kids if you can, and not everyone can. And if you can't, you got to be extra vigilant in your public school because of what some nut might be teaching your kid. It's sad, but it's the reality. You got to ground your kids in faith, not in whatever the progressives want your kid to believe. Congressman Thomas Massie says he's going to oppose Speaker Johnson's re-election as Speaker of the House. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are coming out saying they want the CR to die. I do too. But I sure do understand the position that the Speaker's in. The reality is this. Thomas Massie isn't going to vote for any continuing resolution. You got a 3-seat majority, basically. Thomas Massie isn't going to vote for any continuing resolution. I don't blame him, but the government will have to be funded at some point. And I know you and I can take the position, no, you don't have to fund it, but they're going to get it funded. And you know it and I know it. Even if you don't think it should, you know it and I know it. So Massey's down, Massey's gone. So now you can only lose 2 more, and you're going to find 2 more members of the House Freedom Caucus who say we're not voting for any spending legislation at all because those people exist. So now you got to rely on Democrats to get it funded. So you're going to start getting deals with Democrats. So what happens with the 3-seat majority? I like the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. I think this is a terrible deal that needs to be killed, but I also do understand his position. And sometimes it's hard for people to balance those 2 things together. You're not going to get a socially, fiscally conservative Speaker of the House ever again if you're so willing to oust Mike Johnson. You'll get some establishment squish. And you can say Johnson's an establishment squish, but he's got an entire record in Congress prior to being Speaker of the House. His obligations are different from then, though. Right now, he is the Speaker of the whole House of the United States of America. He's not just the Speaker of the conservatives in the House of Representatives. It's a terrible position for a guy like that to be in. It's going to be difficult for him. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, by the way, who opposed the Speaker last time, says she will vote for the Speaker of the House this time on January 3rd. Donald Trump has told everybody, all the Republicans, he wants all of them to rally around Mike Johnson and get him reelected. But gosh, this is a terrible package, and it should. I get the position he's in. I'm sympathetic to it, but it's a terrible piece of legislation. A continuing resolution should not be 1,545 pages. This thing needs to die. By the way, they can't amend it. The rule says they cannot amend this legislation, so they need to vote against it. It's terrible. It's bad legislation. The phone number is 877-973-7425. When we come back, I will take your phone calls. Right now, I got to say, if you're looking for a special gift to give a loved one for Christmas and they are into smoking meats, I know some of you are looking at Traegers. There's a company over in Augusta, Georgia. This isn't an ad. This is not an ad. I wish they paid me. Tried to get them as an advertiser. There's a company called RecTech. They're better than Traeger's, people. If you're looking at a pellet grill for Christmas, go with RecTech, not Traeger. The build quality is better. They last longer. Their computer parts are made here. All of these companies, their parts are put together in China, but RecTech puts its computer parts together here. They last a long time. They get hotter than a Traeger typically. They're far better. RecTech, RecTeq. They're in Augusta, Georgia. They're U.S. made, and they're wonderful people, and that's the pellet grill you want. Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Let us go to the phones. David, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, how are you doing? Again,
Great.
I really enjoy the show, and
Thank you.
sorry you're not on WMAC and Macon. I looked that up, and that's not good, but that's not why I called. When you said something about the way progressive think, I'm going, and I've had this suspicion. I went and I looked up the educational background for the original set of secretaries that were in Biden's cabinet. Did you know, almost to a person, every one of those people went to Harvard, Harvard Law School, or Yale. The agricultural guy went to somewhere in Iowa or something, and then, or Stanford or Berkeley.
It doesn't surprise me at all.
And but to your point, if you're thinking that you've got government officials that act like the only people that have any sense are them. I attribute it to their education and other type of upbringing. I mean, it's kind of an inbred thing. I mean, inbred not in the traditional sense. You know what I'm getting at, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
look,
I thought that was interesting. Go ahead.
It's also, David, one of the other points that's worth making with these cabinet picks from Joe Biden is more than 80% of Joe Biden's picks, not just for his primary cabinet, but also for assistant secretaries, they came from the nonprofit sector. Joe Biden has a higher percentage of cabinet secretaries from the nonprofit sector than any president other than Barack Obama, which is remarkable.
Or government.
Yep.
So you ask how many of them had made a payroll before in their entire life? Probably 1 in 10, if that many.
Yeah, actually, you're actually right. It is 1 in 10 of Joe Biden's cabinet picks have had to do a private sector payroll in the past. And you can tell that they have no appreciation for what goes on in the private sector. So the Department of Energy, I got a note from a buddy of mine. He works for Rinnai. You know the Rinnai tankless water heaters? We've got one at our house. It is fantastic. So my daughter has very long hair. She's only cut it once. She gets it trimmed, but it is very long and very thick. And side note, we were having almost $200 water bills at our house. My kid went to college, and our water bills are less than $90 a month now. Fascinating, is it not? But we have a tankless water heater because we had regular water heaters, and we'd run out of hot water. She'd take a shower and be in there forever. So we got the Rinnai tankless water heater. And as long as our propane tank stays filled, which it does, we have unlimited. I can stand in the shower all day long with hot water. It is wonderful. Well, the Department of Energy under Joe Biden has decided to pass a regulation that will ban tankless water heaters. Now, the irony here is that they're 20 to 40% more efficient than standard water heaters, but the standard water heaters will remain, and the tankless ones are going to go away, along with 200 jobs just at one facility in the state of Georgia that makes them. Why? Because Jennifer Granholm is a Canadian who came to the United States, who became a politician, who's never really worked in the private sector, and she thinks this is just hunky-dory as a way to save the environment. Part of the reason is because lobbyists in air conditioning companies decided that if you route your water through your coils for your air conditioner, you get hot water. And so they've been lobbying for this, and they want to shut down their competitors in the tankless hot water system. And the Biden administration, they sold them on climate change, and it worked. 200 people in Georgia stand to lose their jobs unless this regulation is rolled back. And they don't care because Biden lost Georgia to begin with. And even though regular water heaters are still going to stay around, this is all because these people don't work in the real world. They've never worked in the real world. Pete Buttigieg got out of the military, God bless him for his service, went straight into politics. All these people are career politicians or work in the nonprofit sector. They haven't had to meet payrolls. They've survived on the largesse of donors and taxpayers, and you can tell it in the way they formed their policies. Roger, you're going to be next. Welcome.
Yes, just wanted to back you up on your thought that before the foundation of the world was laid, Jesus, God, had a plan of salvation. Actually, Jesus, the Apostle John, St. Peter, and Paul all agree, and it is a major topic in the Bible. There's at least 7, perhaps more passages that speak to this very issue, and all you have to do is Google before the foundation of the world,
right, and
those Bible passages will jump out at you.
Yeah, see, I'm totally with you. I know there are people, Roger, who are infralapsarians, and I mean no disrespect to them. I just think that I think this whole plan was put in place before creation itself, which is the larger issue here. We can take theology largely out of it in these theological debates, but that's why people get mad at me sometimes because there are things I get worked up on, and if you're a longtime listener, you know. But a lot of stuff that get a lot of people worked up about, I'm like, I can't change it. It doesn't directly impact me. So why am I going to get worked up about it? The drones, for example. There are people who are just deeply worked up about the drones. I can't change it. I'm not in charge of it. It's not affecting me. Why am I going to lose my mind over it? God's got a plan. Everything's taken care of. I'm going to be fine. May not like the way the world goes for a while, but it's all part of a plan that I can't see, and I'm going to be okay. I'm totally going to be fine, and so are you. We may not like it. I've had a friend who passed away this year, struggled for a very long time, sought miracles, and none were given, and died. And it was a tragedy for all of us. But also, we understand that we can't escape the tragedies of this world. God didn't either. But God's got a plan. We sometimes don't understand it. We don't see it. We don't get it. It can frustrate us. We can be impatient. But I sleep well at night knowing that God's in charge. I trust in the sovereignty of God. All right, Cindy, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you for taking my call. I'm a long-time listener. You have the call to action group that you've set up.
Yes.
Being this resolution is so horrible, would this be one of those instances you might want to send that out to people?
I am actually literally in commercial break working on doing just that.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas, by the way.
Oh, Cindy, look, I appreciate it. And yeah, I'm glad you called. I was wondering whether or not I should even attempt it. But yeah, I think it is. So I've been working on it during commercial break and hope to have it out here shortly for everybody. Thank you very much for the call, Cindy. Those of you who want to take action, and essentially here's what this is. It is a way for you to call your members of Congress and say, don't do this. Or you can send them an email, or you can tweet them and just say, don't pass the continuing resolution. If you want to be a part of it, you got to sign up for our Army of Activists. And the way you sign up for our Army of Activists is you text the word Army to 33777. Text Army to 33777. And you'll get an email, and it'll be a link to our Action Center where you can go and sign up and say, don't pass this continuing resolution. Do better. And I think we owe it to members of Congress across the aisle to hear. Now, some of you are going to say, well, my member of Congress is a Democrat. Well, they may not like what's in the plan as well, particularly this taking members of Congress off Obamacare or and giving them private insurance again. Yeah, that's a number one point, is they need to restructure this. And you need to call your member of the House and tell them you're opposed to this and you want them opposed to it, and bring pressure to bear on them. Be kind and tell them you understand it's very difficult. But also, they need to kill it. Surely they can do better. I think they can. I honestly think part of what's going on here is a lot of these guys are just ready to get out of town. I don't know about y'all, but today feels like a Friday to me. I still got 2 more days this week, and it feels like a Friday. It is. I wish y'all could see. I realize it's radio, but until about 12 o'clock today, I couldn't see out my window. It was completely foggy. And now there's still a little bit of a haze of fog. There is no blue in the sky. It is dark and dreary. The temperature is beginning to drop. It's going to be cold. Tonight, the winds are going to come in and blow out all the cloud, the fog, and the drizzle. And tomorrow, the temperatures are really going to drop. And it's going to be very cold by the weekend here in the middle of Georgia. It is just a dreary, miserable day. And it's getting early. It's getting dark so early now. Look, again, I won't get back on my tangent about you people who get up at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning, like my dad, who gets up so early in the morning. I'm like, I like to see the back of my eyes too much to do that. But I just don't like it getting as dark as it does, as early as it does in the afternoon. I'm in my office all day. I go to the gym when the show is over. I go to the gym. I get out of the gym by 4:30. It's already almost dark. I can't go play golf. I can't go outside and do stuff because it's dark. And it for the first time in a long time, and part of it is I'm really tired this year. So not to go off and make this about me as opposed to the news headlines, but normally when the election hits, after the election is over, I take several days off. And this year, immediately after the election, I was on the road to multiple places. And even I did take a couple of days and I went to Las Vegas, but I was still working out there for a couple of days and had the weekend off. And I've just been nonstop. I've been on airplanes more in the last month and a half than I was the 2 months before the election. Just nonstop going places. I finally, I'm at the point where I can feel it. And this whole week, like I was up until midnight last night. I was recording ads and getting the show ready and making a cake for my wife for her birthday today. We got to go celebrate her birthday tonight. And then when she goes to bed, I got to go back into the recording studio and I got to record stuff for next week while I'm gone. I'm ready for this to be over. And it doesn't help that it gets so dark so early. I come home, I'm tired, and I look out. It's 6 p.m. and it's pitch black outside. I do not like that. But we're not and by the way, this is the first year where it's really gotten to me. I think it's just because everything else, I've been so tired and so busy, like I can't enjoy the afternoon. By the time I get out here, like I could, in theory, leave here and go to the golf course and play golf, and the sun would be setting. I could get at least 9 holes in before it was too dark to play. But I've been trapped at my desk every day for the last month. There's no way out. And so this year has probably bothered me more than it ever has before. Now, my oldest sister, what is it called? Seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, or whatever they call it. My oldest sister tends to deal with a little bit of depression, or she did. She got one of those lights that she uses now. But for a long time, and she's not alone. I know a number of people who suffer, and it really is a thing, seasonal affective disorder. When there's less light during the wintertime, it can spark depression for some people. It's a real thing. And I got to be honest, for a long time, I thought it was nuts. My sister, though, deals with it. And now I know a number of people who deal with it, who, because there isn't as much daylight, they tend to battle depression during the wintertime. And you can get certain lights that you do. It's not suntan. I forget what they're called, but essentially there's a bright lights you can get for your house, and you can sit in front of them, and they help you battle seasonal affective disorder because they kind of mimic the sun. But this is the first year I'm like, my gosh, I really am tired of it being pitch black at 6 p.m. And I've never been that way. And I think part of it is just I've been so busy for the last month and a half, and I haven't had a moment to just hit the brakes and do anything. I'm ready for a time off. Normally, I'm good, but this year I'm like, yeah, and I'm going to do a lot of traveling over Christmas, so it's not going to be as restful as I wanted. So I'll have some recharge as well. Yeah, I think we all kind of need it at this point, but it sure does feel like a Friday today, and I know it's just because of the nature of the week. We're almost there though. Christmas is Wednesday. I got my email today from my office that we'll close early. I mean, Kobe and I'll be on the radio on Wednesday, on Tuesday. Kobe, poor guy, just signed up to replace Jim as he retired. He's got to come to work on Christmas Day to get the show out. We got to work on that automation process for days like Christmas. But nonetheless, there are a lot of you who have to go to work on Christmas Eve and Christmas. You are the indispensable people keeping society going, and so at least know that you are appreciated. I will get up on Friday morning and wait at 5 o'clock in the morning, freezing my butt off for the guys who pick up our trash so I can give them each some cash for Christmas. Because those are the guys. I mean, you think about your trash collectors. Talk about indispensable people. If we didn't have somebody coming by and picking up your trash once a week, how you would have to deal with it. These guys do, so I try to get up before the sun rises, before they get out there, because I don't want to oversleep past them and give them something for Christmas every year. Indispensable people doing the jobs that you and I wouldn't otherwise want to do. All right, enough about that. We'll be right back. That rejoin is perfect. So here's what's going to happen, and I need you to timestamp this. It's 2:55 p.m. Eastern time as I'm telling you this, because some of you are listening in delay. If you text the word Army to 33777, you can sign up for our Army of Activists. You click the link, and you will see there. Whenever you do it, fill out the information. And once you do, so you'll get a link. You fill out your name, your zip code, your email address. And then once you've done that, if you follow the link again, it'll show you available campaigns. And this campaign is not posted yet, but it'll be posted shortly. It'll be Stop the Continuing Resolution. And you'll be able to call your member of Congress, give you a feel for our Action Center. You'll be able to call your member of Congress and say it's a bad deal, kill the continuing resolution, and just flood their phone lines. Tell them, don't do it. It's a bad deal. So years ago, we did a research project. The number one thing people said about this program was that you never knew what I was going to say on an issue or what I was even going to talk about. A lot of conservative talk radio has gotten pretty predictable. You know the topics, you know the stances. And so I appreciated that nobody has any idea what I'm going to talk about, let alone what I'm going to say on an issue. Number two was that people appreciated that I tried to give them solutions, not just rant, but give them solutions. And this really is the genesis of that. I pay for this out of my own pocket. It's a pretty expensive system that I pay for. Radio stations don't. My flagship station doesn't. I do it myself. And we actually haven't deployed it this year, so it's the perfect time. We actually let it die for a little while because we just weren't using it enough, and I wanted to bring it back to do different cool stuff, and so this will be our test run. If you text the word Army to 33777, you'll get a link. You click that link, and it's going to ask you for your first and last name, your zip code, and your email address, and that's how we will know, one, how to contact you, and two, where you are and who your congressman is. So then we will email the action alert to the email address you give us, and you'll find it in your inbox. And when you click the link, you'll see a button. You'll be able to call your member of Congress and say, the continuing resolution is bad, please kill it. And you'll hear my voice. I'll be able to walk you through it. It's an updated system, too, and I haven't actually done a call to action yet. So I'm gonna finish this, and we'll send it out here in just a little while. But here's the other thing. If you have already signed up and you text the word Army to 33777, when you follow the link, you'll see the Action Center. And so when I post this in a little while, so I'm time-stamping it, so for you who are listening on delay, you'll already see it. You go through, you'll see our Action Center, you'll see the Stop the Continuing Resolution. You can call them. Many members of Congress have voicemails. Even if it's after hours, you'll be able to call them and say, we think this is a terrible idea. Kill the continuing resolution. And it is. It's a bad continuing resolution. They should not need 1,545 pages to just continue funding. It's more like an omnibus. They're just not calling it that. They're trying to exempt themselves from Obamacare, which is a terrible idea. If they're too chicken to repeal it, they should stick with it. And so I want you to be able to be involved, to take action. Text the word Army to 33777, and I'll bring you the latest tomorrow. We'll see if we can get this thing killed.